NG tubes. It's not the most riveting topic, but it's something that we don't really think that much about. And weirdly enough, during my ICU month with Hugo, we saw a lot of complications with NG tubes. And weirdly enough, and it's something to think about, and at least not just pass off. So just to start with a case. This is actually a case I saw the aftermath of. I wasn't actually there during the initial actual case or the ED moment, but it was an 87-year-old woman who came in just with respiratory distress and hypotension. She was resuscitated and stabilized in the CCT. She was intubated for airway protection, and then they placed an OG tube, and it was probably the intern was left alone.
Any place.
Yeah. Well, I was in the ICU at the time, so ED down there. But it was probably the intern or the medical student who was left in the CCT bay and was told, "Oh, just place the OG tube." And it turns out that when they were placing the OG tube, just a couple centimeters in, they hit a little bit of resistance, and they just kept passing it. But then, all of a sudden, blood started pouring out of the patient's mouth. Like massive amounts of blood. And it turned out, lo and behold, that their patient had sustained a uvular laceration from the OG tube, and OMFS had to come and somehow found like the long enough forceps to be able to suture the uvula closed and finally obtain hemostasis. But it was a huge mess, it was a whole to do. Even when she came up to the ICU, she was still bleeding. We had OMFS come by like 3 different times just for this uvula laceration. Yeah, uvula. From the OG tube, supposedly. I mean, maybe it was trauma from intubation too, but the going thought was that the OG tube caused this amount of trauma. So it's something to take seriously. My talk, I'm just going to talk about the indications, contraindications, what we need, how to do it, some pearls, and what to watch out for and avoid. So generally, we place these tubes to aspirate stomach contents. We can determine whether or not someone's upper or lower GI bleed. We can prevent vomiting and ileus obstruction, gastric dilation. Or we can decompress the stomach, say that the person needs to go to surgery, or in all these obstructive cases, it helps decompress it. It also helps for identification of transdiaphragmatic hernia, I guess. If you shoot an X-ray, you can see the tube higher up above the diaphragm where it's supposed to be. We use it to administer medications when people can't take medications. We use it for feeding. And then previously we used it in mild to moderate pancreatitis, but it's no longer in fashion anymore. So the only true contraindication to placing one is a cribriform plate injury or recent nasal surgery, and then you can just place an OG tube. Some other relative contraindication are esophageal strictures or some kind of toxic ingestion, especially alkali ingestions. Coagulopathies are also a relative contraindication. You just want to be more careful and really think whether or not the patient really needs an OG tube. In gastric bypass or lap bands, you also want to think about whether or not they really need it because it can cause damage. And then in varices, you can place these tubes, but you again want to think about, am I going to cause more harm than benefit? And in case you've had in the ICU, GI has been very hesitant to allow us to place an OG tube, especially after they've banned it varices. So for stuff, you want the NG tube, you want chucks so you don't get yelled at, you want PPE, you want the 50cc slip tip syringe, which is the non-luer lock syringe, a stethoscope, tape, lubricant, and you can grab a cup of water if your patient's awake. And this is just a diagram about how they work because I never really thought about them too much. All it works is there's air that comes in this smaller tube, and then the suction is attached to this end of the tube, and there's a bunch of different holes that allow you to suck up gastric contents. And the multiple holes prevent the pressure from building up on one area of the tube and causing damage to the bowel wall or the stomach wall. So for the steps, you want to, if the patient's awake, you want to explain what you're going to do to them because it's going to be really uncomfortable. You want to position them head of the bed up as much as you can, leaning forward, and then to measure the OG tube, the distance you're going to go, you go from the nose to the earlobe to the xiphoid process and then add 15 centimeters, and that'll give you your approximate depth. And then you want to insert the tube along the floor of the nares. So this is like a picture of the inside of the nose. You can see C is right under the inferior turbinate. You want to go along the floor. You don't want to go up into the top of the nose, obviously. Initially, you're going to get some resistance, but hopefully just very mild resistance when you're going through the oropharynx. But once you're past the oropharynx, you want to advance the tube rapidly, because once you're in the esophagus, it's really uncomfortable and you should just get good passage of the tube. Then to confirm the tube, the air insufflation technique is what we normally do with a 50 cc slip tip syringe, where you attach it to the OG tube and then you listen for the burp sound. You can also aspirate stomach contents, and then Robertson Hedges actually says that you don't really need an x-ray to confirm and you can just use it without, but just standard practice is that we've always gotten x-rays. And then you want to secure the tube. There's commercial devices, but I've never seen them here. For NG tube, they say make sure you don't have the tube right against either the medial or lateral wall of the nose, because it can cause necrosis, so make sure it's right in the middle of the nose. So things to watch out for. Don't try to overcome significant resistance if you feel it, but it's kind of difficult because you're trying to push it in, you're going to get some level of resistance. That's kind of what I feel. If your patient's choking, gagging, coughing, or condensation starts appearing in the tube, you probably place it in the trachea or into the lungs, so just pull it out. We generally don't think about the discomfort this causes patients much, and we usually just place it maybe with some lidocaine jelly, but it's kind of helpful to kind of try to relieve discomfort for the patient, obviously, because it's a terrible procedure for awake patients, and it also makes it a lot easier to place the tube. You can use vasoconstrictors like Afrin spray, and you should spray them 5 minutes before, and actually this picture here is before and after Afrin spray, and you can see that the turbinate is or the whole nasal mucosa is a lot less edematous, so it allows for passage of the tube much easier. You can use local anesthetics, and lidocaine jelly on the tube, or on the tube when you place it, doesn't really work well. They recommend using a syringe and placing the lidocaine jelly first and letting the area anesthetize. If you just coat the tube in lidocaine jelly, it's not going to do much for anesthesia. You can use antiemetics, and then also people have looked at benzos to relieve the discomfort. And there was actually a study in EM that was featured in EM Rap several months ago. It's on the bottom, and they tried using midazolam in awake patients before nasogastric tube placement, and they stopped the study early because people started breaking study protocol and just using midazolam in everyone because it was working so well. The one concern is that, you're giving benzos to someone who's older and altered, and it's a quick procedure. You want to make sure you don't cause harm with the benzos. Another pearl is that you have uncooperative demented patients who sadly have put NG tubes on. Robert Hedges talks about this NG tube anchor, which I've never seen in real life, but it involves actually placing a second NG tube and using it as an anchor to prevent the person from pulling the tube out. And you actually just place another tube through the nose and then grab it with long forceps and then pull it back out and then tie it around. And then they really can't pull it out. I've been looking to myself because if the person really pulls on the NG tube, they're going to cause a lot of trauma. So this is what they say. I've never seen anyone do this. One common thing. This is Robertson Hedges. I'm not making this stuff up. We commonly run into the problem with the tube is not passing, especially in intubated patients. One thing you can do is just deflate the ET tube a little bit, because maybe the balloon is causing too much. It's compressing the esophagus and preventing you from passing the tube. But obviously, to deflate the tube, the cuff, you're more likely to possibly pass it into the lung. You can also do this guiding ET tube method, where you take a new ET tube, not the one that the patient's intubated with, and you put a slit down it, and then you actually pass the tube through the nose, and then grab it from the back. Or you can just pass an OG tube, which sounds a lot easier. But the diagram involves an NG tube. And then you can actually feed the NG tube down through the ET tube. And the ET tube should go straight into the esophagus because there's already an ET tube in the trachea in this case. And then once it's in the esophagus, you can just pull the ET tube out and leave the NG tube in place with a slit. I've never seen this done either. If the person doesn't have teeth or they're sedated and you feel comfortable, you can just use your fingers to try to force the NG tube or the OG tube back through the esophagus. You can also cool the NG tube, and that stiffens it up a little bit, but then again, you're more risk for causing trauma. And then worst comes to worst, you can call your colleagues who have a scope and ask them to help pass it too, but I don't think other services would be very
When you use a level scope in an intubated patient and
with the glide scope maybe?
No, the regular.
Oh, you did that too. And then the dreaded complications. Obviously, you want to avoid misplacement. And this is why you don't place NG tubes in critical patients. The two cases there involve NG tubes that made it into the brain. And then more commonly, sometimes you end up passing into the lungs, so that's why you want to confirm the placement before you start feeding. Because God forbid you start putting food into the lung or meds into the lung. You can cause worsening of spinal cord or neck injuries. So patients who are in traumas, you're moving the patient around a lot, you're bringing their head up, you're moving their neck around to place the tube, you can cause worsening of their trauma. People with coagulopathic or have varices, you want to worry about bleeding that you might cause, or in the case I saw. You can also cause esophageal perforation, especially if they have strictures or they have esophageal damage. And then you want to worry about aspiration as well, because in patients who are intubated, you might cause them to gag and start throwing up. And then you also want to worry about gastric, or causing damage to the gastric wall, or causing the tube to perforate through the gastric wall, especially long-term placement. And weirdly enough, the case we saw with the uvula tear, several days later, we actually placed a very small double-half OG tube on the patient to feed them. And then it turned out 3 or 4 days later, the patient had increased stomach dilation and worsening stomach distension. And then we ended up CT scanning the patient, and the OG tube itself had actually passed through the stomach wall and had caused pneumoperitoneum. So there's real damage that they caused by these tubes. No, that wasn't me. That was us. So I guess NG tubes aren't as benign as we think they are, and they're often more difficult to place than we think. So it's good to think about this.
So one of the things I like to do, so wake and alert and have good gas, right? Like you're passing not because they've been intubated, but you're passing maybe they have a small bowel obstruction or something. I actually like to have the patient start drinking as I'm passing it. As long as they're awake and I find that's good, and I don't find they aspirate it if they have good gas and stuff. That's what I've always done. I don't know if there are other comments, but I would never do it on someone like who's old and doesn't have good gas.
I find they just throw the water issue and put the tube down, so I don't get more.
I had them sip with a straw, and it tends to make it easier to close the epiglottis so that you actually go into...
Yeah, they actually, in Robert's Hinges,
Yeah, I don't like it.
I also do...
They have a straw.
Sometimes it's nice if you have time, it's not an emergent NG tube, to put some lidocaine, 1 or 2% into a nebulizer and have them inhale the